Hi guys! It's been like half a year again because I can't call myself a YouTuber. So basically, I received a lot of questions on social media about eating to grow or bulking or whatever you want to call it, and it was too many questions to answer on a post, so we're doing this video real quick. I had to turn my fan off to film and it's hot, so hopefully this will only be like 10 minutes of my time. So I'm just going to go through the questions. I will say that what works for me won't necessarily work for everyone else because we are all different. We all eat different things. But I'll try to help you guys out as much as possible. So the first question, or group of questions, because they're going to have basically the same answer. How much do you really need to eat in order to grow? What macros do you eat when bulking? And what amount is carbs and proteins? So what I did, for those who don't know or haven't followed me for a while, I guess, is I bulked with Nick Tong, who was a nutrition coach for me in 2015, I think summer of 2015. So I did a 12-week bulking period with him. It was really good for me because he pushed me to eat way more than I thought I could, because prior to that I had been very sick with endometriosis, and it wasn't until after my endo surgery that I was able to really digest food at all. So it was like a very big process to even get me to a surplus of calories. So if you have trouble eating, or you have like a history of digestive issues or whatever, I definitely recommend working with someone who knows more than you do. 12-week bulking period with him. Sorry, I keep looking down, I have my computer. My starting macros with him were 260 grams of carbs, 160 protein, and 55 fat, which is 2,175 calories. And by the end of the 12-week period, we got to 325 grams of carbs, 160 protein, and 75 fat, which is 2,615 calories. And I will say that by the end, when I hit those numbers, it was just like a lot of food for my body. Just because of my digestive issues, I can't do the like dirty bulk thing. Most of my food is still clean, which means that is like a lot of volume. And in my head at the time, I was like, I can't eat this many fats. So I think after my 12 weeks with him, I started to slowly decrease things, or at least I started decreasing my fats. But yeah, so my calories jumped up to over 2,600 a day, which I'm 5'5", so that's like a decent amount of food. And then as far as what macros do you eat when bulking, mine obviously was very carb heavy, which I think is the case for a lot of people, but again, that's going to vary based on a lot of things, because right now I'm actually doing way better with a high fat diet, and I didn't know that until I tried it. But basically you need to eat at a caloric higher calories than maintenance, a caloric surplus in order to grow. What you eat is going to depend on how you respond to different things. Like if you eat a high carb meal and crash afterwards, then like why would you do that? Why would you do like a high carb bulk, you know? So basically everything that I answered today is going to go back to you need to listen to your body, because there's no one magical formula for bulking or cutting or maintaining or anything. Everybody's different. I also know that people preach these ridiculously high protein diets, and that's another thing. Like if you are struggling to digest your food at maintenance level and your protein is crazy high, increasing that or increasing your calories at all like isn't going to help you. You need to figure out how to eat for your body first and foremost. And then question, what does your diet mainly consist of when bulking? Like I said, mine was high carb at the time. Clean food for me, because again, I'm like team proper digestion, but now I am basically maintaining on still on clean foods, but a much higher fat diet. My carbs are no longer coming from rice like they were when I was bulking. So the thing with bulking, you're eating a lot and probably frequently, just because you can only eat like so much at once. I was eating 5 to 6 meals a day, and a lot of it was rice because that's easy to prep. Now I honestly don't eat any rice because I realize that it inflames my body. So if you think that like you're gonna just like start your bulk and know exactly what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to eat, how much you're supposed to eat, it's gonna go smoothly, I just like don't expect it. Because it's like 2 years later and I just realized that I shouldn't be eating like half the shit I was eating during my bulk, and I wasn't even eating like bad foods. It was literally just the wrong foods for my body. So yeah, what you eat during a bulk, you want to eat what fuels you and what you're able to digest. Did you do a regular bulk or a lean bulk? So I think that I don't really know what the difference is, I guess, between a regular bulk and a lean bulk. I guess you could say that right now, if anything, I'm doing a lean bulk because my calories are just like slowly increasing over time. I'm looking at my camera battery and I feel like it's gonna die because I'm not prepared. But during the time that I was working with Nick Tong, like there was no set number of calories that was increasing each week. It was like if I looked like I was leaning out, because in all honesty, when we started and we were pushing more food on, my metabolism was just like fired up and I would get leaner, and it took a good amount of our 12-week period to even get me to get the scale going up. But with him it was, I guess, a regular bulk. And like I said, right now it's like if I feel like I need more food, I'll eat it. So over time my calories have just continued, my like maintenance calories, I guess, have just continued to increase. So if anything, that's like what I would consider a lean bulk to be. How is the process of leaning out after a bulk? So like I said, I did the 12 weeks with Nick. I feel like I'm really washed out in this camera. Hello? I don't know. Okay, so I did the 12 weeks with Nick, and then I think I continued bulking for like a couple more months. I did decrease my fats because my body just felt slow. Like I feel like I was not digesting anything, and I was like, oh, fats digest slowly, let me decrease that. Ignoring the fact that I have like a hormonal condition and fats are like awesome for it. That's like a whole other story. Yeah, so I continued my bulk for a couple of months, and then I just went into a slow decrease of calories. I was at 300, I want to say closer to 350 carbs by the time I actually stopped bulking. I only have the numbers of the like 12-week structured period that I did with Nick, but yeah, I want to say I was more like 350, and honestly, like, I don't need that many carbs, especially when it was coming from rice. And good Lord, I don't want to ever eat that much. It's like 8 cups of rice or something a day. I don't need that in my life. So that was not hard to decrease it, but what I did was I would slowly decrease things and see how my body responded, because you don't want to jump and take a ton of calories out and then like your energy crashes and your lifts suck and it affects your mentality and all of that. If you like slowly decrease, you're probably going to see changes immediately, and you want to keep as much food in your diet as possible. So that's what I would do to like enjoy the cutting process. Slow changes. Give yourself like a week or two, probably 2 weeks, to actually adjust to it, to see how your body is responding, and then go from there. I also always suggest doing progress pictures or measuring your body over the scale, because I know that most of my following is women, and we all get hormonal and we hold weight, then we stress, then we get bloating, and like all that stuff will affect your scale number. And just go off of how you're feeling, and actual progress pictures, how your clothes are fitting and all of that. because that'll be more accurate. And how many calories do you consume per day? So right now, I don't track strictly, but I think I'm eating around 2,500 a day, which is like higher than what I used to cut at. But again, that's because, like I said, if I'm hungry, I eat. So since my bulk and cutting, there's a fly in my room. Oh it's big. Since my cutting and bulking periods, I have basically just been focusing on, this fly is huge. I've basically just been focusing on feeling as good as I should. Balancing my hormones basically is like number one focus. So with that, I've had a lot of changes to my diet. Like I said, my fats are way higher now. My carbs are basically coming mostly from fruit and like the Lara bars and stuff that are fruit and dates and nuts and stuff. So like plant-based carbs. And so with that change, the inflammation in my body went way down and I was able to eat more. I didn't feel like I was like storing it or bloating or as much as I used to. So my calories have actually gone back up to 2,500-ish at a maintenance level. But like I said, it's not strictly tracking. But my fats went from like, I used to think I needed to stay at like 50 to 55 carbs, and now fats rather. 50 to 55 carbs would be sad. 50 to 55 fats, and now my fats are more like 100. And my hormones feel way better on it, so that's like where we're gonna stay. So I meet my protein intake, make sure I'm getting like enough fruit in me, and then I basically fill the rest with fat. It's what works for me. Another question. Hold on, it's hot. I'm trying to lose more fat before I bulk. Is that the right way? I don't want to put fat on fat. Yeah, so that, again, it depends on where your body's at, but if you feel like you have a lot of excess fat to lose as opposed to muscle, I would lean out first and see where your body's at, like what muscle you have built, and, you know, like I said, get your digestion under control, get your body feeling good, and then slowly increase from there. And in that case, you can probably do this quote-unquote lean bulk where you'll add a little, it'll energize you, your metabolism will be like revved up, you let your body adjust, and then you add more. That's what I would do. Because if you're like overweight, or you know, like at an unhealthy weight, or you're consistently bloated, or you're just like not confident in your skin, like adding more food and adding more onto your body is probably not the way to go about it. So I would get yourself to like where you feel you're healthiest, and then just slowly increase, and then your body will take the food well. How do you know if you're insulin sensitive? So that requires a medical diagnosis, and then there are dietary changes you can make for that. But yeah, talk to your doctor. I am not a doctor. What's the order? What's the order? Bulking to build first and then cut, or cut then bulk? Like I said, if you're fairly lean and you're like, oh, I could be leaner, I would say if you're fairly lean, just like put some muscle on and then lean out instead of doing all this like yo-yo dieting, because you're better off getting to know your body and what you can eat and like letting it do its thing and build. Because I think that our entire society focuses on dieting way too much, and when that's like, dieting should be like a very short-term thing. And when dieting is like your lifestyle, that's just like fucks with your metabolism and your thyroid and your hormones and like all that stuff. So if you're fairly lean, I say go and eat and feed your body and push in the gym so that you're getting stronger, and use the food that you're putting into your system. And then once you reach a point where you're like, I've been doing this for a long time, then like take it back a little bit. How do you get over the scale weight and added belly fat? So a big question is when it comes to like building muscle and losing belly fat, like can you do both at the same time? No, you can't gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. You need to eat to grow, so you're not gonna eat to diet as well, you know? When you have been dieting for an extended period of time and you do start to add some food into your system, like more than it's used to, you could start to lean a bit just because your metabolism is like, thank you, Jesus, you're feeding me. And I will say that like with like when clients initially come to me, it's usually they haven't been eating enough and we'll add some food and they will start to lean out. But as far as like a full-on building phase goes, you should expect to put on some fat with the whole process. Where you hold that fat, where you store that fat is different for everyone. For me personally, I usually hold it in my midsection and my back and my arms. I don't really hold fat in my legs. I can't control that. I wish it went to my hips and my waist stayed small, but it doesn't. I get into this like SpongeBob SquarePants shape. So like as far as dealing with that goes, and I actually made a post on my Instagram about this because our society likes to focus on numbers so much, like the scale number, what size your pants are, how old you are, how many calories you're supposed to eat each day, and with that comes this obsession on like how you're supposed to look, how you're not supposed to look, and we are all very, very different. The scale is going to go up if you're bulking and it's not going up, then you're like not really bulking correctly, so you should expect to see the weight go up. But when you don't focus on numbers and you focus on, say like in my case, if you look at me before I bulked, it's really hot on the floor. Oh my god. If you look at me before I bulked, I was like very lean, my abs were more defined. Then you look at me afterwards, my phone is blowing up, excuse me, and I'm like thicker. But like all honesty, when I compare the two photos, I'm like, oh, the lean and I didn't feel good. Like I feel so good now. Like my hair is fuller, my skin cleared up except for this past week, so you guys get not nice skin, and it's my lady problem week, so that's what that is. But yeah, so you compare the two pictures, I feel so much better on like the current one. And when you go and like look at yourself, you know, you're like, oh, I put on some weight, but you're like, but my digestion is better, or my hormones aren't fluctuating so much, or my anxiety has improved, or like, but I'm eating so much more food now and I'm not stressed about it. Like those things are so huge, and like you will get to like whatever your body goal is. But like the fact that you feel better on the right image as opposed to like when you were technically leaner, like that's huge. That's going to stick with you during whatever phase you decide to take your fitness journey in next. And so that is how I deal with my ever-changing shape, my ever-changing scale number, my increase or decrease in energy and strength in the gym or whatever it is. Like the fact that I've gotten a much better handle on my own health, like my endometriosis and my hormones, and I'm like, okay, I found a diet that's like actually sustainable for me. And by diet, I don't mean like this calorie number. I mean like I can eat like a high fat meal and digest it and feel awesome afterwards. So it's like that's like what you guys should be focusing on. And that's the one thing, like when it comes to bulking or dieting or whatever, like everyone's looking for this magic equation to plug in, like I'm 5'5", 145 pounds, what am I supposed to do? Like listen to your body and focus on feeling better. That's like your magic equation. That's what it is. That's all I have to say about bulking, basically. I don't know if that answers anyone's questions. And then I think the last question, as far as someone who is starting out goes, number one, you don't have to bulk or cut or track macros or anything like that, you can go and lift in the gym and then fuel yourself and like go based on how you're feeling and be just as successful. So that's number one. You don't have to do any of these things, just like other side from, like I said, listening to your body. Number two, ADD is kicking in. This has been 20 minutes. I'm sorry. I can't even edit things because I didn't even stop the camera. And I don't edit things. Number two is, if you are consistently bloated or tired, your skin's bad, or your like periods are terrible or whatever, like if you have a consistent health issue now, I wouldn't suggest going into any extreme diets, whether it's like cutting or increasing. I would just work on figuring out how to feel better daily. Like I said, if you're like bloated every day and then you go add more food, that's not going to do well with your body. So like figure out what you're supposed to be eating and then figure out what foods work for you, and then you play with the macros to suit whatever your goals are. But you can't like throw all of this stuff into your system when it's not even processing what you're currently at. So that's what I would say as far as starting goes. And then, like I said, listen to your body. I know this is like a random welcome back to YouTube for probably just this video. Maybe I'll start filming more. I have exciting things coming with my Fitness 360 guys, which I don't even think I talked about on YouTube. But I want to film more with them because they're helping me so much with the endometriosis stuff. So maybe I'll bring YouTube back. That's not a promise though, because like this took me like 2 weeks just to find a place and time to film. So if you have more questions, you can leave them below or reach out to me on Instagram. I'll provide that down here. And that is your not as quick as I wanted bulking Q&A. Thanks for watching and all of your support, and that's all I have. I'm never good at this. My battery's dead. Okay, thank you. Love you guys. Bye.